The man who needs nothing is truly free. This ancient Stoic truth may sound simple, but it strikes at the heart of modern life. Look around. Most people live performing for invisible audiences, proving themselves with every post, every purchase, every achievement. Yet the few who remain silent, who choose discretion, stand out like shadows in a room of noise. It's unsettling, isn't it? When someone doesn't play the same game, people feel a strange discomfort. We've been trained to believe that constant visibility equals worth, so when someone opts for privacy, the world gets nervous. Their calm makes others question their own restlessness. That is the paradox of silence. It screams louder than endless words. The Stoics believed true power was rooted not in control over others, but in control over the self. A man who governs his impulses, guards his energy, and doesn't beg for applause is a man who cannot be manipulated. He becomes unshakable because his value isn't borrowed from the crowd. It's built within. Think about it. When everyone else rushes to share their highlights online, the discreet individual resists. While others overshare, he preserves. While the world demands attention, he chooses peace. That choice alone makes him dangerous, because he can't be bribed with approval or broken by criticism. His strength comes from silence. Modern psychology supports what the Stoics already knew. Those who withdraw from the endless cycle of comparison often live with more clarity, deeper presence, and greater autonomy. Their lives may look quieter, but beneath the surface lies a stability few ever achieve. In a storm of noise, they become the still water. That's why people find them intimidating. They're not running in the same race. They don't measure themselves against the shallow rulers of appearance. Their identity is anchored in something immovable. And when the crowd realizes they can't control or influence them, fear and respect naturally follow. In this journey, we'll uncover the Stoic principles that explain why the discreet, the silent, the so-called low profile often hold the greatest power. From self-mastery to emotional control, from the strength of boundaries to the freedom of not needing to prove anything, you'll see why their silence is more commanding than 1,000 speeches. And it begins with the first pillar, inner control. Every Stoic knew this. If you cannot rule yourself, you will be ruled by everything around you. Inner control is not about suppressing feelings or becoming emotionless. It's about refusing to hand the steering wheel of your life to others. When you hold the reins, no opinion, no criticism, no flattery can dictate your path. This kind of control feels like an anchor in the middle of a storm. While others chase approval like leaves blown by the wind, the Stoic remains grounded. He doesn't need applause to validate his choices. His compass is internal, guided by principles and reason, not by the fleeting noise of the crowd. You can see it in simple moments. Someone insults you. The natural urge is to strike back. But a Stoic pauses, breathes, and chooses a measured response. Or sometimes no response at all. That pause is not weakness, it's strength. Because whoever controls their reaction controls the outcome. Think of it like investing. A panicked investor buys high and sells low, following the frenzy of the market. A disciplined one waits calmly for the right move. The Stoic does the same with life. He invests energy only in what he can control, never in the noise of opinion. That's why his growth compounds quietly over time. Inner control also protects against manipulation. Many bend their values to fit in, selling their integrity for acceptance. But the Stoic does not. He may listen, he may engage, but he never trades his essence. That kind of stability creates a subtle authority. People sense they cannot move him, and that alone commands respect. This strength doesn't announce itself with arrogance. It radiates quietly, like the deep roots of a tree. You don't see them, but they hold the whole structure steady. A person with inner control doesn't need to declare power. His calm presence speaks louder than any boast could. But here's the real question. Once you've built that inner anchor, How do you guard it from being drained by the outside world? That's where the next Stoic principle comes in. The wisdom of setting boundaries that protect your energy and preserve your peace. Silence, for the Stoics, was never emptiness. It was strength. While most people talk to fill space, the wise remain quiet to preserve power. Every pause carries weight, every withheld word signals discipline. Silence becomes a language of its own, often more persuasive than speeches. Why does silence unsettle others? Because people expect reaction. They expect chatter, defense, validation. When someone stays quiet, it creates tension. That stillness makes others reveal themselves, often saying too much. The Stoic uses this to his advantage, not by manipulating, but by observing. In daily life, silence is a weapon of composure. Imagine a heated argument. One person shouts, the other waits. That pause disrupts the rhythm and shifts the power. Silence doesn't lose the battle, it often wins it without lifting a finger. Few things disarm like calm in the middle of conflict. It's also protection. In a culture obsessed with oversharing, the Stoic knows that privacy is power. He doesn't broadcast every joy or every wound, not because he's hiding, but because he values depth over display. What's sacred loses meaning when exposed to the crowd. Silence trains discipline, not reacting to every insult, not posting every emotion, not justifying every choice. It all strengthens the mind. Each time you choose silence over impulse, you reinforce control. It's like lifting invisible weights for your character, slowly building inner muscle. And silence has another effect. It creates mystery. People lean in to understand what you're not saying. They respect more because you reveal less. While others spend energy shouting, the Stoic saves his energy for when it matters. That restraint magnifies his voice when he finally speaks. But silence alone isn't enough. It protects, it strengthens, it intimidates. But there's another chain that must be broken. The human urge to constantly compare ourselves to others. And that is where the next Stoic lesson begins. The freedom found in rejecting comparison. Comparison is one of the oldest traps of the human mind. There will always be someone richer, stronger, or more admired. If your worth depends on matching them, you will always feel lacking. The Stoic refuses this game. His only competitor is the man he was yesterday. Breaking free from comparison feels like dropping a weight you didn't know you carried. Suddenly, you no longer run a race you never chose. The Stoic watches the parade of appearances, but doesn't join it. He knows the prize is hollow because external validation never satisfies for long. Instead, he measures success by his own growth. Did he respond with more patience today than yesterday? Did he stay true to his principles when it was easier to abandon them? These invisible victories are worth more than any applause. They are the quiet proof of a life lived with integrity. Social media fuels the opposite. Filters, highlights, curated perfection. Everyone seems happier, richer, more fulfilled. Yet behind the screen, many are anxious and exhausted. The Stoic doesn't envy what he sees. He recognizes the illusion, reminding himself that peace of mind is more valuable than likes. By refusing to compare, clarity returns. Energy once wasted on jealousy or resentment is redirected toward purpose. This focus creates momentum, while those trapped in envy remain stuck. The Stoic understands that every journey is unique, and that authenticity beats imitation every time. Ironically, the person who doesn't compare often inspires others. Authenticity is magnetic. People sense when someone is free from the endless measuring contest, and they respect it. The Stoic doesn't need to prove superiority. His independence already sets him apart. But once you stop measuring yourself against others, another challenge appears: managing the storms within. Because if emotions aren't regulated, freedom is quickly lost. And that's where the next Stoic lesson takes us: mastering emotional regulation. The Stoics never denied emotions. They knew you cannot escape them. What matters is how you respond. Anger, fear, or even joy can sweep people away if left unchecked. But between the emotion and the reaction lies a sacred space. The Stoic lives in that space, choosing response over impulse. Regulating emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means channeling them wisely. Imagine being insulted publicly. The easy move is to explode, defend, or humiliate back. The Stoic, however, pauses. He decides whether silence, humor, or a firm statement serves better. That pause is power. Think of losses in money or business. Many panic and dig themselves deeper. The Stoic sees loss as part of the cycle. He studies it, learns from it, and adapts without letting desperation dictate his moves. In this way, emotional discipline becomes a financial and personal safeguard. One simple practice is journaling, a habit Marcus Aurelius himself used daily. Writing emotions down transforms them into clarity. Today, you could use a notebook, a voice memo, or even a quiet walk to process feelings. The point is to translate raw emotion into structured thought before it drives reckless action. Those who regulate emotions radiate calm in tense rooms. You've seen it. When everyone panics, one person stays composed, and suddenly all eyes turn to them. That presence is magnetic. People trust the one who doesn't unravel under pressure. The Stoics knew calm is more persuasive than charisma. Building this discipline is like training at an invisible gym. Each time you resist an impulse, you add strength. Over time, the mind becomes steady, harder to provoke, slower to burn out. Emotional regulation is not luck, it is daily training, invisible but transformative. And once the storms of the heart are under control, another lesson emerges: how to fully inhabit the present. Because even with mastery of emotions, life is wasted if you're never truly here, in this moment. That's the next step in the Stoic path. The Stoics taught a radical truth: the past is gone, the future is uncertain, and only this moment is real. Yet most people spend their lives replaying old regrets or rehearsing fears of tomorrow. The Stoic refuses both prisons. He anchors himself to the now, where action actually matters. Living in the present isn't about ignoring the future. It's about refusing to drown in it. You can plan, you can prepare, but you can't live in a day that hasn't arrived. Like a sailor, you can set the sails, but the wind is beyond your control. The present is the only ocean you truly navigate. Modern life constantly pulls us away from presence. Phones buzz, screens glow, notifications scream for attention. The Stoic resists. He chooses to savor a meal without posting it, to listen fully when someone speaks, to walk without needing music or distraction. Small acts of attention reclaim the richness of life. Psychologists now echo what the Stoics knew. Anxiety is living ahead of time. That's why practices like mindfulness or meditation reduce stress. But for the Stoic, presence wasn't a trendy tool. It was survival. Silence, breathing, or simply observing the sky were timeless ways to return to the present. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Each day is a life." He meant that if you live today with virtue, you've already fulfilled your purpose. Tomorrow may bring chaos, but today was lived well. This mindset dissolves fear of the unknown, because every day is complete on its own. The person who lives fully in the present feels different to others. They radiate groundedness. Their words carry weight. Their actions feel deliberate. People sense authenticity in them because they aren't split between yesterday and tomorrow. They are entirely here. That presence becomes its own kind of power. Yet, even as presence brings peace, another trap waits: the obsession with controlling how others see us. Many spend their lives polishing an image, forgetting that reputation is not reality. And that brings us to the next Stoic lesson: indifference to appearances. We live in a culture obsessed with performance. Every photo, every caption, every achievement is polished for display. But the Stoic sees through this theater. Appearances are smoke. Character is stone. What matters is not the costume you wear in public, but the person you are when no one's watching. Indifference to appearances is a kind of liberation. Imagine no longer shaping your choices to win applause or avoid criticism. Imagine acting from principle, not pressure. The Stoic knows that reputation is beyond his control, and to cling to it is to hand strangers the keys to his peace. This doesn't mean neglect, it means shifting focus from surface to substance. The Stoic doesn't need to advertise his victories or parade his wealth. He works in silence, letting results speak. His life is his message, not a highlight reel, but a coherent story of integrity. Paradoxically, the less he tries to impress, the more impressive he becomes. Authenticity draws attention without seeking it. People respect what feels real, especially in a world drowning in fakery. The Stoic commands influence not by chasing it, but by refusing to compromise his essence. Seneca warned, "He who seeks fame will lose it. He who ignores it will gain it." In today's age of filters and viral trends, that paradox holds true. The Stoic ignores the race for validation, and because of that, others look to him for direction. His indifference becomes his advantage. Indifference doesn't mean passivity. It means clarity. The Stoic still cares about how he behaves, but not about how he is perceived. He ensures his actions align with virtue, not vanity. That alignment projects quiet authority, stronger than any curated image could. And once appearances lose their grip, the Stoic gains something even greater, an inner fortress. Because without the chains of reputation, he can build a strength that is untouchable, unshakable, and entirely his own. This brings us to the next lesson: fortitude born from within. True strength isn't measured by the size of your muscles or the volume of your voice. It's measured by your ability to remain steady when life collapses around you. For the Stoic, inner fortitude is the most precious treasure. It's calm in chaos, clarity in fear, and resilience when others fall apart. This strength is not born overnight. It is trained like a craft. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, carried the weight of an empire yet turned nightly to his journal to remind himself of humility and virtue. Epictetus, once a slave, found a freedom within that no chain could break. Both embodied fortitude from within. In everyday life, fortitude looks like this: not crumbling under criticism, not inflating under praise, not drowning in defeat. It's holding the compass steady while the winds shift wildly. The Stoic repeats to himself, "This too shall pass." And with that mantra, he endures storms without losing direction. Consider someone who loses a job. Many panic, collapse, or blame the world. The Stoic feels the sting, but doesn't surrender to despair. He reframes the loss as a chance to grow, to pivot, to build again stronger. The fall does not define him, the rise afterward does. Fortitude also shows in smaller daily tests: the driver who doesn't rage in traffic, the worker who stays composed under pressure, the parent who responds with patience instead of anger. These quiet victories reveal a hidden strength that no audience can deny. The curious thing about inner fortitude is that it doesn't shout, it radiates. You can feel it in the presence of someone unshaken by circumstances. It's like standing near an ancient tree. Storms may bend its branches, but its roots hold deep. That rootedness inspires trust in all who witness it. Yet even the strongest tree needs protection. Fortitude can't survive if everything and everyone is allowed to drain it. And that is why the next Stoic principle is crucial: the wisdom of setting boundaries to guard the self from unnecessary erosion. No fortress, no matter how strong, can stand without walls. The Stoics understood this. Strength is wasted if it's left unguarded. Boundaries are not about shutting out the world. They're about protecting what matters most. Without them, your energy leaks into every demand, every distraction, until nothing remains for yourself. Respecting boundaries means recognizing that not everything deserves access to you. Not every conversation, not every request, not every audience is worth your time. The Stoic learns to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. because every yes to what drains you is a no to what sustains you. In practice, this can be simple but powerful. Turning off notifications during sacred hours, refusing gossip at work, choosing to protect family dinners from digital invasion. These small acts draw invisible lines around your peace. And those lines are the silent guardians of your sanity. Think of your mind as a garden. Without fences, anyone can trample it, and soon nothing grows. Boundaries are those fences. They don't keep life out. They allow growth within. The Stoic tends his mental garden carefully, pruning what distracts and watering what strengthens. And here's the paradox. When you honor your own boundaries, you actually give more to others. By refusing to scatter energy on the trivial, you preserve energy for the essential. People feel the difference. Your yes gains weight because it isn't cheap. It's chosen with intention. Most people confuse visibility with value, but the Stoic knows better. Preserving what is private, guarding what is sacred, refusing to overexpose, these are not signs of weakness. They are marks of strength. To value yourself enough to protect yourself is a quiet declaration of dignity. And once those boundaries are in place, something beautiful happens. You begin to choose more carefully who enters your inner circle. And that leads directly to the next Stoic insight, the priceless value of cultivating essential relationships. The Stoics taught that the quality of our connections matters far more than the quantity. In a world obsessed with followers and superficial approval, this wisdom feels revolutionary. Crowds may cheer you, but when the storm hits, it's the few who truly know you that will stand by your side. An essential relationship is one where you can drop the masks. No performance, no need to impress. Just presence, honesty, and trust. The Stoic doesn't chase endless connections. He treasures the few that are genuine. For him, one true friend is worth more than 1,000 admirers. Think of the difference between a comment online and a conversation face-to-face. One disappears in seconds, the other lingers in memory for years. The Stoic chooses the latter. He invests in depth, not in noise, because depth endures while noise fades. This choice requires discipline. Deep bonds don't grow overnight. They demand time, patience, and care. While many scatter themselves across endless interactions, the Stoic cultivates carefully. Like a gardener, he plants seeds where trust can grow and weeds out what poisons the soil. Seneca once wrote, "True friendship is always helpful, harmful never." That wisdom is timeless. It reminds us to evaluate our ties. Do they build us or drain us? Do they bring out virtue or vanity? The Stoic isn't ruthless, he's selective, because his peace is too valuable to gamble. And the irony is that those who invest in fewer but deeper relationships end up stronger in crisis. A single loyal ally provides more comfort than 100 shallow connections. Real bonds make resilience possible. They are the invisible scaffolding of a steady life. And from here comes the final Stoic lesson, the one that ties it all together. The ultimate freedom of living without needing to prove anything to anyone. That is the summit of self-mastery and the most intimidating power of all. At the peak of Stoic wisdom lies a simple but unsettling truth. The highest freedom is not needing to prove anything. Most people spend their lives on display, performing for approval, terrified of rejection. But the Stoic steps away from the stage. His worth doesn't rise or fall with the applause. Freedom here means independence. It's the power to live guided by principles, not pressure. The Stoic doesn't need to advertise his victories, parade his possessions, or sculpt his image. His validation comes from within, where no critic or crowd can touch it. That is unshakable power. In daily life, this freedom looks quiet. It's choosing not to post every achievement. It's refusing to defend every choice. It's living in such alignment with your values that explanation becomes unnecessary. Your life itself becomes the proof, without a single word. Ironically, those who least try to impress often impress the most. Their calm confidence sparks curiosity. Their lack of need creates gravity. People wonder, what does he know that I don't? The very absence of performance becomes the loudest message of all. Epictetus once said, if you want to be invincible, don't fight battles that aren't yours. And the battle for external validation is never yours. The crowd will always shift. Praise one day, condemn the next. To be free of that cycle is to be untouchable. Such freedom doesn't make life smaller. It makes it limitless. Because no one can manipulate a person who doesn't crave approval. No one can control a soul that isn't addicted to recognition. This kind of independence is dangerous to a world that feeds on vanity. And so the Stoic stands apart, rooted in self-mastery, guarded by silence, strengthened by boundaries, enriched by real bonds, and finally, freed by the refusal to prove anything. That is the essence of his power. But the real question remains, what would your life look like if you lived with that same freedom? Now pause and think. What if everything you've just heard wasn't just philosophy, but a map? A map out of the noise, the comparison, the endless race to be seen. The Stoics left us a blueprint, not for surviving the world's chaos, but for mastering ourselves within it. And mastery begins with choice. Will you keep scrolling, consuming, comparing, or will you take a step back and reclaim your inner fortress? That decision shapes your destiny more than any opportunity or setback, because the one who governs himself governs everything, and no algorithm can compete with that kind of power. So ask yourself, which chains are still binding you? Is it the need for approval, the fear of judgment, the inability to sit still with yourself? These are the real prisons of modern life, and only you hold the key. The Stoics remind us, the bars are invisible, but so is the freedom. If these lessons resonated with you, don't just let them slip away. Apply them. Start small. Journal your thoughts tonight. Say no when it protects your peace. Choose depth over display. These simple acts build the kind of life others admire but cannot control, and that's worth more than applause. And here's where you come in. Share in the comments which lesson struck you hardest. Maybe it was emotional regulation, maybe the freedom of not proving anything. Your reflection might be the spark someone else needs. This is how wisdom multiplies, when it moves from thought into conversation. If you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this channel isn't about quick fixes. It's about building unshakable foundations for life. And if you value that kind of knowledge, you'll want to be here when the next lesson drops. Wisdom compounds. Just like wealth, miss one step and you slow the climb. Finally, don't stop here. The video appearing on your screen right now is the next step in your journey. Watch it. Let it challenge you, unsettle you, sharpen you. Because the Stoic path doesn't end with inspiration, it demands transformation. The question is, are you ready to live it?